Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from executeautomation.com and welcome to part 6a of our Cucumber with Selenium video series. And in this video, we're talking about working with multiple data using data table with custom class. So in our part 6 of this particular video series, we discussed working with multiple data using a data table, and we used a method called raw to retrieve the value, and it returned as a list of type string. But that was kind of pain, so I said we should have a way to access the data more intelligently or more easily via a strongly typed option of retrieving the values. So this time we are going to do that. So let's quickly see how things work. So let's all help to save our trees, water and energy to save our motherly planet Earth. So please, let's all save that right away. So in this video, we are going to actually create a custom class via Pojo. So Pojo stands for plain old Java object. In C# it's called plain old class object. So we are going to make use of this way. As you can see, we have a class called user, and we have two variables of type string, username and password, and we have a constructor. So this is the class which we are going to make use of to store the values whichever is coming from data table, and then we are going to convert that as lists to store the value. So if it's really not making any sense, let's flip to IntelliJ and see how things works. So for that, I'm going to flip to IntelliJ. So in our last video, we created our project something like this. You can see that we have a list of type string, and which is one storing the values into a data variable, and we are retrieving the values something like this, which is kind of pain because I don't really see any value or benefit out of it. So the best way to make use of a best programming practice is always to write a strongly typed programming. So for doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plain old class object. So for this demonstration, I'm actually going to create a class within this particular class login step. So this is a nested class for now, and we are going to create this class within right here. So public class, maybe I can increase the font size a little bit more, and I'm going to call this as users or user, and then I'm going to create two variables, and I'm going to call that as username and and password. So password, and then I need to create a constructor. So that's again a pain while compared to Java and C#, because in C# you can just create a auto implemented property of public string username and password, and you can leave it as it is, so you don't really have to create a constructor. But here in Java, we actually have to create a constructor to store the values so that you can use that to store within an array. So I'm going to create a constructor. So in IntelliJ, once again, there is a shortcut. There is a key combination called Alt Insert. You can see there are so many options like getters, setters, so you can actually create a properties in here as well. I'm actually not going to create a properties, rather I'm just going to leave it as it is. So I need a constructor for now, so I'm just going to create a constructor, and it's intelligent enough to ask me which fields you're going to initialize in the constructor, and it's showing me that there is a username of type string and password of type string. Do you want to choose that? I'm going to select both of them and hit OK. So you can see that it is neatly creating me a plain simple class right out here. So that's it. And then the last thing which I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this two code. So what I'm going to do is, for commenting, there is a Control-Shift/, which is a block comment for this particular codes. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm just going to type in right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a array list of type users, right? So I'm going to say list of user, and let's call this as users, and array list of type the new array list of user. There we go. So this will actually create create an array list. Maybe I can just do it like this for now, and then I'm going to store all the users. So for doing that, the very simple thing is users is equal to So we have a data, right? This one. So I'm actually going to make use of that as well. So let's remove this block command and put it right here. Data dot, I'm sorry, it should be table, right? Table dot, there is something called as list. So I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to convert the user class something like this, right? So the indentations are gone. So for that, I'm going to choose the shortcut key, Control Alt L, right? So all the indentations are in place again, and now I need to iterate through all the users. So for that, I'm going to make use of the for each loop, and the users are actually of type user. So I'm just going to type user in the users. So I'm going to choose that, and now I need to get the value out from it, right? So again, system dot out dot println of the username is, let's say, user dot username, and the password is password, right? There we go. And now let's try to run this code and see how things work. So for that, I'm just going to right click, run the features, and you should be getting an error. Yep, something like this. And this is a kind of crazy error. I just want to show you and demonstrate to you why this error is actually happening. And I really don't get any idea of this kind of problem, and I googled a lot and I really did not get any answer for this, because I saw many people are actually working with the tables and for them it was working fine. But while I write this code, because I am from the spec flow and C# background, and if I write the same code, it really makes sense for me that the plain old Java object looking so good, and there is no change or no harm required for this particular class though. But it actually requires a lot of change. So the change is kind of silly, and I really don't get still now why it has to be done, but it works. So the change is, if you don't really get what the change is actually, the first change which we need to do is we have to make the variable name a small letter. Wow, so bad, right? Let's do like this. Password, this one just to make a differentiation, because not everything should be in a small letter. So username, username, and the password P is capital, small letter, right? So this is the variable value that has to be initialized with the constructor value that we are passing in as a parameter, right? So this is the one change in the Pojo, and once we have made a change in there, then we have to make change in here as well, because we have called that variable value out there. So I'm just going to use that. And one more change is, as a rules of the Cucumber or any implementation of Cucumbers, maybe C# or Java, the column name should be very, very equal to the variable value within the class. So you need to change this to small letter as well. So you need to change this to username and password P as small p, right? Now everything looks so good to me right now. And now if I try to run this test and see, you can see that this time the test will get passed. There we go. And once again, if you ask me why is this so crazy thing happening, I seriously don't have any answer for that yet, because whatever it is, it should work, right? It can be a small letter, or it can be a capital letter, or maybe I'm not very good in Java. I think there should be something technical reason behind it, or maybe the as list method, the implementation is not that good. If you go to the implementation, the table converter dot toList, this guy, the toList method of the table converter is actually trying to do something so crazy. So if you go to the implementation, I think here it is not converting it as expected. Here I think it is converting only if the type has a small letter variable value rather the capital letter. So that's something so crazy. That's the reason we have to pass in the small letter like this, right? So that's it, guys. So this is how you can see that you can actually get a variable value out from a strongly typed class, something like this, and you can use it right here. So this code is okay, but this is more meaningful. It's more than okay. So because we know that we have to get this value. So username is this and the password is that. So you get it, right? So this is how you can perform the operation in here. So that's it, guys. This is how you can work with the multiple datas using data table using a custom class in Cucumber implementation for Java. So once again, thank you very much for watching this video and have a great day.